Hello, I am an employee at a company called Monkama Games, and this is my documentary about the development of 2D animation. 2D animation is a series of still images put together in a successive sequence to give the appearance of motion. In this section, I will be going through the different inventions and techniques of 2D animation, the people who developed them, and how they were a big development for 2D animation. First, we have the zoetrope. The first zoetrope was invented in 1833 by a man named William Horner, who named it the Daedalum. People commonly refer to it as the wheel of the devil because it was something that was never seen before and was believed to be magic. The zoetrope was a cylinder with slits around the outside and a circular sheet with images in a successive sequence in the inside. You would spin the zoetrope with a handle that goes through the bottom and look through the vertical slits so the images look like they are moving. Then we have the phenakistoscope. In 1841, a man named Joseph Plateau invented the phenakistoscope. The phenakistoscope is a circular disc with sequential images on it in radial slits that you would look through while spinning the disc using the handle attached to it. Next, we have the flip book. In 1868, John Barnes Linnet created the first flip book under the name Kineograph. A flip book is a book with a series of pictures that vary slightly on each page, so that when you quickly flip through the pages, it gives the illusion of motion. This was a huge development for 2D animation, because the flip book went in a linear sequence rather than circular. And then we have a praxinoscope. In 1877, Emile Reynaud created the praxinoscope. Like the zoetrope, it had a strip of varying pictures placed around the centre. Rather than vertical slits, the praxinoscope had an inner circle of mirrors placed so that the reflections of the pictures appeared more or less stationary in position as the wheel turned. Someone looking in the mirrors would therefore see a rapid succession of images, producing the illusion of motion with a brighter and less distorted picture than the zoetrope offered. And then we have the kinetoscope. In 1888, Thomas Edison created the kinetoscope. The kinetoscope was designed for films to be viewed by one person at a time, through a peephole viewer at the top. The kinetoscope was not a movie projector, but introduced a basic approach that would become the standard for all cinematic projection before the advent of video, by creating the illusion of movement by conveying a strip of perforated film bearing sequential images over a light source with a high-speed shutter. And then we have a technique known as rotoscoping. Max Fleischke created the rotoscoping technique in 1915. Rotoscoping is a technique of tracing over live-action footage frame by frame to give it a certain look. He used rotoscoping in his technologically groundbreaking animated series Out of the Inkwell. And then we have cell animation. In 1915, Earl Hurd and John Bray created the cell animation technique. This is a technique still used today. Cell animation is the idea of drawing characters on a transparent cell to put over an opaque background, and then have them photographed together. This was a huge development for 2D animation because it saves a lot of time and money, making it ideal for large animation companies to use. In this next section, I will be discussing important developers of animation and films they made, and the techniques they used. Walt Disney is one example of a developer of animation who helped change modern animation for the better when he decided to make the first feature-length animated film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, made using cell animation, and was praised by the audience when it was first aired, despite many people thinking it would be a failure. I will be discussing contemporary practitioners. Over the years of the history of animation, many key developments have made animation a popular technique in modern texts, and people now use animation for many things in the modern day. An example of a popular practitioner is Terry Gilliam, the man who makes the animation for Monty Python. Terry Gilliam uses cutouts for his animations because they are much more simple and cheaper to animate. Terry Gilliam's animations are usually really abstract and nonsensical. Matt Stone and Trey Parker created South Park with cutouts, with similar technique to Terry Gilliam, before they then went on to make it with a computer program called Maya. They did this because it was quicker to make the episodes in the amount of time they needed to make them. Animation is used in a variety of forms and genres such as computer games, children's TV, cinema and advertising. A good example of this is the cartoon SpongeBob SquarePants. The first series of the cartoon was made using cel animation, but the show then shifted to digital ink and paint animation during its second season in 2000. In the modern day, most animation is created using computer software. There are two different major types of graphics: bitmap graphics and vector graphics. Bitmap graphics create images made up of individual pixels, whereas vector graphics create images made up of individual items. A popular software used to make animations is Flash. Flash manipulates objects on the screen frame by frame to give the illusion of motion. An example of a Flash animation is Salad Fingers. This is the end of my documentary. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to working with you again.